Why Lemmy Kilmister almost hit Ozzy Osbourne. With his guitar it was 2 a.m. at the Rainbow Bar and Grill, the restless heart of Los Angeles nightlife. The neon signs bled through the smoky air like fractured rainbows, painting the whiskey glasses gold and green. Every wall was a shrine, signed guitars, fading photographs, and echoes of laughter from 1,000 forgotten nights. But tonight, beneath those flickering lights, something historic was about to unfold. Two of rock's greatest titans, brothers once forged in distortion and rebellion, were about to collide. If you love music and Ozzy, don't forget to subscribe to Voices of Darkness, like, share, and comment your thoughts below, because rock never dies. Lemmy Kilmister sat in his usual black leather booth, the Jack Daniels bottle standing like a monument before him. His shadow was long and solitary against the bar wall. 69 years of thunder, speed, and amplifiers had carved his face into stone, yet his eyes still burned with that same wild fire that had once set the world ablaze. His hand trembled slightly as he poured another drink. It wasn't from fear. It was from years of living too much, of surviving every night that should have killed him. The jukebox whispered an old Motorhead track, but Lemmy wasn't listening. His mind wandered somewhere far away, perhaps to 1975, perhaps to a stage in Berlin, perhaps to all the friends he'd buried. Then came that familiar voice. "Lemmy, my friend." The air shifted. Even the bartender froze. Through the smoky haze walked Ozzy Osbourne, the Prince of Darkness himself, his walk uneven, his grin both haunted and charming. A few heads turned. The rainbow had seen gods before, but this was different. Ozzy reached the booth, steadying himself with a hand on the table. "Buy me a drink for old time's sake," he said, his voice trembling between mischief and melancholy. "Look how far we've come since Birmingham, right?" Lemmy's lips curved slightly, not a smile, more like a scar remembering where the blade entered. "You're still your old self, Oz. You'd think being a grandfather would have slowed you down. But no, you still run on madness," Ozzy chuckled weakly. "Ain't we all mad, Lem? You lived off Jack and speed half your life. Don't judge me." But the words carried more bite than laughter. The ghosts of years past stood silently between them. Friendship, rivalry, pride. Lemmy leaned forward, his tone low. "Sit down, Ozzy, but don't give me your TV smile." "Not tonight." The rain outside tapped the window, as if drumming to a song only the two of them could hear. Ozzy's hands trembled slightly as he picked up a glass. "You talk about madness," he said, his eyes flashing. "At least I built a family, Lem. Kids, wife, a home. You were always alone, just you and your bottle." The words cut deep. Even Ozzy felt them the moment they escaped his lips. Lemmy's expression froze, the mask of the eternal outlaw cracking just enough to reveal the wound beneath. His voice dropped, gravelly and sharp. "Don't talk about my life, Ozzy. You don't know a damn thing about it." The jukebox clicked, and, as if on cue, Ace of Spades began to play. The crowd stirred. They knew this song, this fire. Lemmy's hand clenched around his whiskey glass. "At least when I go on stage, I play my music. I didn't turn my life into a circus for TV ratings." Ozzy's nostrils flared, his hands forming fists. "You're jealous, admit it. You'll die alone, Lemmy. You were never loved." For a heartbeat, silence. Then the storm broke. Lemmy's chair flew backward. The bar gasped as he reached for his Rickenbacker bass, gripping it by the neck like a weapon. His voice thundered like an amplifier blowing out. "Jealous? You think I'm jealous of a man who sold his soul for fame?" Every eye in the Rainbow Bar was fixed on them. The air was electric, not with music, but with raw truth. Ozzy stepped back, his voice cracking but defiant. "At least people know my soul, Lemmy. Yours is buried in that bottle." The bartender reached for the phone, ready to call security. Someone whispered, "They're going to kill each other." And then, time froze. Lemmy raised the bass above his head. Ozzy flinched, and in that fraction of a second, a lifetime of friendship flashed before both their eyes. The laughter, the concerts, the chaos. Lemmy stopped. The guitar hung in the air. Then, slowly, he lowered it. His shoulders fell. His voice broke. "What are we doing, Ozzy?" The words weren't angry. They were tired. Ozzy's breathing softened. He looked into Lemmy's eyes and saw not rage, but exhaustion. The kind that no fame, no stage, no applause could heal. "We're friends," Ozzy whispered. "We've always been." The bass landed gently on the table. The entire bar exhaled. Lemmy sat down again, his hand trembling slightly as he poured another drink. "You know," he muttered, "I used to think I didn't need anyone. Motorhead was enough. The music was my family, but now, it's just me." Ozzy nodded slowly, his eyes glistening. "When I go home now, Lemmy, it's not the same either. Sharon's tired, the kids are busy. I sit in that big house and feel smaller than ever." The two men stared at their glasses, the reflection of the neon lights dancing like fading stars. "We survived the drugs, the tours, the chaos," Lemmy said quietly. "But this loneliness, it's the hardest part of getting old." "You're not alone," Ozzy replied. "You've got me, you old bastard." Lemmy laughed softly, the sound almost fragile. "Then drink with me, Prince of Darkness." 2 glasses clinked. Whiskey flowed, and the years between them began to fade. The rain still fell outside the Rainbow Bar, tracing silver veins down the window like tears. Inside, Lemmy and Ozzy sat across from each other, the storm between them now quiet, replaced by something deeper. Remorse, memory, a rare kind of peace. Lemmy leaned back, eyes lost somewhere in the past. "You remember those nights in Birmingham, Oz?" "How could I forget?" Ozzy said softly. "The factories, the smoke, the noise that never stopped. Even at night, the city hummed like a giant machine. The old jukebox switched tracks, landing on Iron Man. The timing made them both laugh." "You know," Lemmy said, a faint smile curling his lips. "I was still a roadie for Hendrix when I first heard you lot. Sabbath. Thought to myself, these crazy bastards are going to change everything." "And you did too," Ozzy replied. "You gave rockets fangs." Motorhead was the sound of war and freedom mixed together. It scared people, and that's how we knew it was real. A long silence followed, the kind only old soldiers share. Then Lemmy's voice turned soft. "Sometimes I think about those early years, when I first picked up a bass, when everything we did was for the sound, not the fame, not the money, just the noise." He poured another glass. "Now everything's numbers and clicks. Even rebellion's got a price tag." Ozzy nodded, his voice trembling. "I feel that too. I sing War Pigs and wonder if people still understand what it meant. Back then, every chord was a scream against the system. Now, it's just background music and commercials, the weight of decades pressed down on both of them. And yet something glowed, faintly stubbornly, in their eyes. The same fire that burned in smoky Birmingham clubs 50 years ago. Hours passed like verses in a long song. Outside, the rain turned to mist. Inside, the bar emptied until only the bartender remained, polishing glasses and pretending not to listen to 2 of his heroes bare their souls. "You know what I realized tonight?" Lemmy said, setting his glass down. "For years I thought I was protecting myself by being alone. But I was just running from the fear of losing someone." Ozzy smiled, but there was pain behind it. "We both ran. Lemmy, I ran into chaos, drugs, cameras, noise, just to avoid the silence." They shared a long, heavy pause. Then Ozzy said, quietly, "Maybe we've still got time to do something that matters. Something beyond all this fame nonsense." Lemmy raised an eyebrow. "You mean like a charity record?" "Don't you dare say charity," Ozzy chuckled. "No, man. I'm talking about teaching. A workshop, a mentorship, Motorhead and Sabbath together, showing kids what real rock and roll feels like before the machines take over." For the first time that night, Lemmy actually grinned. A real grin, not his usual sardonic smirk. "You're out of your damn mind." "Of course," Ozzy replied. "But admit it, it's a good idea." Lemmy leaned back, imagining it. Young kids with guitars and dreams, sitting across from 2 broken legends still holding on to the flame. "You know," he said, voice thick with whiskey and wonder, "that might actually be worth doing. Teach 'em how to bleed music, not just play it." Ozzy reached across the table. Their glasses clinked once more. A pact was made, not in ink, but in whiskey scars and honesty. "Motor Sabbath," Lemmy whispered with a grin. "The last lesson," Ozzy replied. They both laughed. The kind of laughter that heals. Months passed. The idea became reality. Clips began circulating online. Shaky videos of Lemmy and Ozzy sitting in small studios, talking to young musicians about the meaning of rebellion, about what it meant to love your art so much that it destroyed you. They called it the Legacy Sessions, and for a brief moment the world remembered what real rock sounded like. Sweat, pain, and truth. But even as their friendship deepened, time was catching up. Lemmy's health worsened. The doctors warned him, the band begged him, but he wouldn't stop performing. "If I can't play, I might as well be dead," he'd say, half smiling, half pleading, and so he played. Until the very end, December 2015, Los Angeles, Motorhead's final concert. A sea of hands, the smell of burnt amps, the roar of 10,000 voices. Ozzy walked on stage halfway through Ace of Spades. The crowd erupted. Two living legends, side by side again. Thunder and darkness reunited. They sang together, their voices cracked by age but alive with history. When the last note echoed into silence, Lemmy turned to Ozzy, tears in his eyes. "This one's for all the bastards who thought we wouldn't make it." Ozzy's voice cracked. "We made it, brother. We really did." When the news came that Lemmy Kilmister had passed, the rock world stopped. At the Rainbow Bar, his sanctuary, candles lined every table. His empty booth was draped in black leather, a Jack Daniels bottle at its center. Ozzy sat there in silence for a long time, surrounded by friends and strangers alike. He raised a glass. "Lemmy wasn't just a musician," he said softly. "He was a warrior. He taught me that friendship can survive anything, fame, time, even death. He was the last man standing, and he'll never really leave us." Then, as the night deepened, Ozzy asked the jukebox for one last song, "Born to Raise Hell." He sang it quietly, half whisper, half prayer, his voice trembling. The crowd joined in. By the end, no one could hold back tears. Someone left a single guitar pick on Lemmy's empty chair. Written on it were the words, "Lemmy lives here now," in every note, every friendship, every glass of Jack. The neon lights flickered. Outside, the rain had stopped, and somewhere between the echoes of guitars and memory, rock and roll was still alive. If you love music and Ozzy, don't forget to subscribe to Voices of Darkness, like, share, and comment your thoughts below, because the music never dies, and neither do those who truly lived it.